Hi, welcome to the craft channel. Today I've got a little bit of home deck for you that's not the normal paper or sewing that I tend to do, and it's this yarn crescent moon, which is quite simply made from a thick card base wrapped in yarn, and then it's decorated with paper leaves, which I'll be honest are left over from a multitude of paper cutting projects that I've done in the past, and then some crocheted flowers that are very easy to do, even if you're a beginner. So I'll show you how to do the crescent first of all, and then I'll show you how to do the flowers. So there'll be a couple of templates for you in the description below, which are quite simply 2 sizes of crescent moon. I'm not going to do a big one today because it takes quite a while to wrap it cleanly. But if you cut this out of quite a thick grey board, or if you don't have any grey board, you can glue together several sort of leftover cereal packets to thicken it up. And then just take a piece of double-sided tape and wrap it around one horn of your crescent moon. And then try and, this is supposed to be quick release double-sided tape. I've never managed to release it quickly ever. So just wrap that round. And then we're going to wrap the moon. I'm going to use some yarn here from Yarns and Colours. This is their epic weight yarn. So it's a bit thicker than your normal double crochet. Put the tail of your yarn against the double-sided tape there. And then wrap slowly and carefully around that horn. Don't be too heavy-handed because that's quite a delicate piece of cardboard there. You don't want to bend it out of shape. But once you've wrapped a bit, what you do want to do is on the interior curve is just push it up with your thumbnail. Oh. And then before you go too much further, make sure your yarn is secured on the back with the double-sided tape. Get yourself another length and add it to the back. And the main reason we do this is to make sure that if you have to put your project down and, I don't know, go and let the dog out, put the dinner on, something like that, the tension that you've got on there and the nice even wrapping that you've got on there doesn't come undone. So continue wrapping it and pushing it in. And what you can do is if you imagine where the centre of that circle is, as long as when you wrap, you're wrapping so that your yarn is always coming down the centre, what you should be able to do is wrap the whole thing, even with it being on a curve, so that your yarn radiates out from the middle. So let me just do a couple more turns so I can show you what I mean. Like so. So your yarn here is going out this way, but it's slowly radiating out. So what you end up with is a perfectly wrapped crescent moon. Now when you get to the end, what you will need to do is put some more double-sided tape around that tip to really secure it, and then I suggest you get a darning needle and thread it through the back here to tidy it up, and then for extra security just put a bit of clear fabric glue on the end of each. So there's your crescent moon, which we can pop some little paper leaves on. And then I want to show you how to make the flowers. Now you can make the flowers from really any weight of yarn. These smaller ones I've made here from Yarns and Colours' favourite weight of yarn, which recommend a 3mm hook. I have here a lovely set of waves hooks from KnitPro. They're colour coded, so once you know what colour you're using, you can just pick it up. Like their 3mm hook is purple, There's a 3.5 in green, but I'm going to use a 4mm hook in orange. And this set does go from 2mm up to 6mm, 1/2mm increments, so it's a really handy set to have. So I'm going to use a 4mm hook, and I'm going to use a slightly heavier weight DK yarn, just really so that I can show you the stitches with greater clarity on this overhead camera. So we'll start by making a slip knot, pop it on your hook and tighten it up. Don't tighten it too much. And then you want to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then take your hook and put it back into that first chain and join it into a ring with a slip stitch, like so. But ignore that tail end of yarn for a minute. So make a chain to bring your yarn up to working height. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 5 double crochet, or if you're in the US, they're single crochet, into this ring. So find the center of your ring, and we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep your tension fairly light because you're going to be working a lot of stitches into each of those stitches that you've just done, and if you make them too tight, it will make your life too difficult. So you've done your 5 double crochet, go back into the first double crochet and join it with a slip stitch and make a chain to bring it up to working height, and that's acting as your first double. In the same stitch we're then going to work a half treble, a treble, and a double treble, so that the stitches increase in height, and then we're going to work the reverse. So then just a treble, a half treble, and a double. And as I say, if you're watching this in the States, you will have to accept that this is UK terminology. So instead of doing a double, half treble, treble, double treble, we'll be doing a single crochet, a double crochet, a half treble, and a treble. So I'm just going to show you in the next stitch how each of those are worked. So we'll start with a double, which is simply hook into the stitch, yarn around the hook and out, yarn around the hook and through 2 loops. A half treble is yarn around the hook, into the stitch, yarn around the hook and out, yarn around the hook and through 3 loops. A treble, yarn around the hook, into the stitch, yarn around the hook and out, yarn around the hook, through 2 loops, yarn around the hook, through the remaining 2 loops. And then a double treble is yarn around the hook twice, into the stitch, grab the yarn, yarn around the hook, through 2 loops, yarn around the hook, through 2 loops, and yarn around the hook, through 2 loops. And it is as simple as that. I mean, once you've mastered trebles, then you can go for double trebles, triple trebles, quadruple trebles. I would imagine there is some work that you do that means that you can just continue to wrap that yarn around the hook and just make essentially a chain of stitches in the middle of your work. So I'm just going to do these last few petals. So a double, a half treble, a treble, and a double treble. And then reversing it so it's a treble, a half treble, and a double. I've got 2 more petals to make, so come back to me in a sec. I'm just working my last double into my last stitch, and then I'm just simply going to finish that off with a slip stitch, trim off the end and pull it tight. So there you've got your 5-petaled flower. Let's just take that thread to the back. So as you can see, there's a lot of stitches in there and they're quite compact, but with something like an ergonomic hook, like these ones from KnitPro, the wave design handles, they're a nice warm touch, soft handle on there. And I've done, as you can see, smaller flowers in a much finer yarn, and there's no cramping in my hand at all. So I've got carpal tunnel syndrome in the hand that I use my hook in. And if I overwork this hand, I do notice it, but with something like an ergonomic hook, it doesn't hurt me at all. So now all you've got to do, now you've got your selection of flowers, is let's just grab a darning needle and stitch in the ends of this one. And with any crochet project, I mean, weaving in ends is, I think, most people's bugbear. I think it's what puts a lot of people off doing multicoloured projects, because there's just so many ends to weave in. But don't ever be tempted to cut your yarn short. It might not be so bad on a project like this, which is for a home deck item that's just going to be hung on a wall, but any kind of garment or throw, you put it in the washing machine a few times. If you've cut your ends off short, it will eventually become unravelled. And it's a bit soul destroying really when you've spent hours on it. Just weave in that last end. And I'm weaving them in on the back of each flower each time. So let's get our crescent moon. One thing I didn't realise about a crescent moon is, I think we in the UK see a new moon in the opposite direction to people in the southern hemisphere, which was something that was a bit odd to me. But I suppose it does make sense because we are right over the other side of the planet. Bit of fabric glue, just gently dot on some fabric glue onto your chosen leaves. Just going to go with a couple of leaf shapes that are in a similar colour to the yarn that I've originally wrapped this crescent in. And let's just have a darker shade. I think that's enough on that size moon. And on this larger one here, you can see what I've actually done is I've then trimmed the flowers with self-adhesive gemstones, just to give them a definite centre. But very easy project, even for a beginner, because once you've mastered, as I say, doubles, trebles, half trebles, double trebles, you can create flowers in, minutes. And they're attractive, not just for a project like this, but if you're making corsages or decoration for hats or bags, the simple 5-petal flower design is brilliant. So I'll put a template for your moons in the description below. I will endeavour to actually write you a pattern for the flower and put it in the description below. And I'll give you some information about these KnitPro hooks as well, so that you can find out where you can buy them. And as I say, have a look at the weights of yarns. With this Yarn and Colours, their favourite yarn is a, I think it's still a DK, but it's very fine, makes a very small, neat flower. And then an ordinary DK will make a larger flower, and I think I did have one that I'd actually made in this epic yarn, the really chunky stuff from Yarns and Colours, but I appear to have mislaid that one, so I can't show you how big that is. Hope you like that. I hope you're going to make some crescent moons to decorate your house. Please subscribe to us because we've got all kinds of demonstrations coming up in the following year. And in the meantime, keep safe, and thank you very much for watching. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.